The festival asked me, what does being Ukrainian Canadian mean to you? What does it mean to me? I consider myself to be the luckiest Ukrainian Canadian comedienne in Canada. And I've had so many wonderful opportunities to perform countless times at every Ukrainian festival and Vegreville, which I loved with the big Ukrainian egg there. Just meeting hundreds of thousands of people, bringing laughter, bringing all my crazy characters. And I just wanted to share with you some of my costumes and pieces that I had on stage. This, sometimes I would run out on stage in my Canadian flag dress, which was made for a sketch with the Air Farce, which I was lucky enough to be part of a great group. And so there was that. I'll come to that in a minute. But then there's this vinok, this wonderful vinok, which is a headpiece that I wore at Dauphin, Manitoba. Every year that I would perform, I had to run on stage, and you could put 200 dancers and a couple of horses on the stage, and all the people were way up on the hill outside in Dauphin. And by the time I got to the microphone, I was so exhausted just running and running and running and running to the little microphone. So I said, I need like this huge vinok with a 15 feet of ribbon. And this is cut down to about 12, but I had 15 feet of ribbon behind me, this giant vinok, and I would come running on, holding the ribbons. And of course, the ribbons would come, you know, they would go and go and go and go behind me, and I had this river of ribbons behind me. I always got a great laugh. And then I had two really hunky Ukrainian guys, dancers, come out and take the vinok off my head and go off with, you know, carrying the vinok. And that was another round of applause and delight for the audience. And so I'm just so grateful to be an actor and have these opportunities. Then speaking of Air Farce, it is a group that I've been with. This is a book called 40 Years of Flying by the Seat of Our Pants, which is what I'm doing right now, and talking about myself. But there we all are. We're jumping out of a plane, and these are the people that I worked with, the Canada Goose. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful 40 years, actually more than 40 years. But I was with the guys, and I wanted to show you like a picture at the end. Look at that. Who's a pretty girl? Who? Anyway, I was always working with all these wonderful writers, performers. I was a National Theatre School graduate. I was fortunate enough to have 3 years at the National Theatre School of Canada in Montreal, and so I was an actor, and nobody else was an actor but me, and so I got away with a lot, but it was great. This is another photograph of me with the boys. There's John Morgan, Dave Broadfoot, Roger Rabbit, Don Ferguson, and Luba Goy, and we just had a great life. We traveled for 18 years doing our radio show with CBC Radio, and the first time I was in Winnipeg, we never traveled. I was never out west, and we were in Winnipeg, and I spoke Ukrainian for the first time in a comedy show that wasn't done very often, and there were Ukrainians in the audience, and you know, I played this Ukrainian woman, and I was being interviewed by John Morgan, who played this. You know, let's go to our next caller. Go ahead, caller. Hello, Emichka. Вітаю вас до Winnipeg. Я маю проблему. Мій Budgie він їсть мої pantyhose. Please help me. And there was a little pause, and John said, how nice to hear from our French Canadian friends. Well, I spoke Ukrainian, and after that, all these Ukrainians came out of the woodwork and became fans of Air Farce. So I was just, like always talking about being Ukrainian, which of course I'm very proud of, as you can tell. Another huge, wonderful event that happened was writing a play about my life. Luba, Simply Luba. And we had it published. And it is a story of my life. It's all here. It's all here in all these little pages. And it actually won the Kobzar Literary Award back in 2015, $25,000. And it's co-written with Andriy Tarasyuk and Diane Flax. And it's my story in my words, and mostly a tribute to my father, who passed away when I was 12 years old and never saw me become who I am. But Tato, Stepan Goy, was my, everything. He was an actor. He played mandolin every day of his life. He wrote poetry, and he was a freedom fighter. I lived between politics and culture. So Tato was a rabid freedom fighter. Бог і Україна, дитино, God and Ukraine. And then everything was in Ukrainian. Люба, іди до школи, скажи вчительці, go to school, tell your teacher to write to the Prime Minister that Ukraine has to be free. You're my messenger, Luba, you. I go, but Tato, I just want to be a good Canadian. Tak, good Canadian, hockey, yo-yo, hula hoop. Then, Бог і Україна, дитино. And I never played hockey. I played the accordion, but that's another story. And that's my life, Ukrainian Canadian, being connected to both. And Tato wanted to free Ukraine, but he also made trezubs, which I have. I will show you my Tato's beautiful trezub. And everybody had a trezub on their wall, a trident, except us. We did not have one. So I wish I had it now because I want to show it to you, but it's over there. Coming to Canada by boat from Belgium, my mother, Mama, Oля, she was born Pravoslavna, Ukrainian Greek Orthodox. Tata was born Ukrainian Greek Catholic. And you know how the Catholics are. Наші діти будуть католики. And Mama was like, Бог є Бог. God is God. And so, of course, I had to become a comedian. You know what it's like, having one foot here and one foot there. But when we came to Canada by boat, first we went to the United States and everybody got off the boat. And I saw the Statue of Liberty, the lady with the lamp. And then we sailed up the coast to Halifax and we saw these rocks. And Mama said, this is our country. This is Canada. And I said, well, where's the lady with the lamp? All there was these rocks. And it was Pier 21, where millions of people coming to Canada from different countries came through Pier 21. And then we took the train to Ottawa, where I grew up. And that's about it. Being Ukrainian Canadian is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I just want to share with you the trezubs that my father, Stepan Goy, made in the 1950s when I was a little girl, and he would make these for every friend, and everybody had one in their house except us. Mama and I didn't have one in the house, and because every time he made it, people would say, Stepane, give us a trezub. And I'm just so proud of my father, who passed away when I was 12 years old on Ukrainian Christmas Eve, tragically and suddenly. And it's all here in my play. that I dedicate to my father, Stepan Goy. And I just want to share a little bit of a story because he said, Luba, you are my messenger. Go tell the teacher to write to the prime minister, Ukraine has to be free. And so I went through life, and I never did that. I never told the teacher. But when I grew up and did this play, I'm wearing here the vinok, and there's a Ukrainian flag and a Canadian flag, an accordion, Pretty Peter, my budgie bird, Petro, and I was able to give my father's message to the Ukrainian president, Viktor Yushchenko. In 1990, Yushchenko came to a state dinner at Rideau Hall with the Governor General, Michael Jean. And she did a speech, and she mentioned my name, and everyone started applauding. And I thought, do you mind? The Governor General is making a speech. But people kept applauding, so I had to stand up, and I was tempted to do a little queen wave or something, but no, because this was serious. The president of Ukraine came over to my table while I was still eating, and he just stood in front of me and waited. He's 6'4". I stood up, and I was looking at his armpit. And I thought, I have to say something. He wanted to meet me because I was sitting at the cultural table. The director of opera from Kiev was sitting there. Ja, director opera z Kieva. And I said, oh, I was in an opera once. And everybody at the table were people who were writers and painters and musicians from Ukraine, from Ukraine, at my table. And Viktor Yushchenko, President Viktor Yushchenko, came over, and I thought, as he was coming over, someone said, the president's coming to our table, and I put my pierogi stuffed lamb chop down. Not to say that it was not a pierogi stuffed lamb chop, but I thought, what should I call him? Should I call him Pana Yushchenko, Mr. Yushchenko, President Yushchenko? Well, he knows he's the president. What am I going to say? I'm just a comedienne. And then I could feel this bubble rising inside me. And the president of Ukraine was just standing and looking at me quietly, didn't say a word. And I said in pure Ukrainian, Пане Ющенко, від глибокого серця я хочу вам подякувати за вашу присутність тут сьогодні. I'll translate that. I said, Mr. Yushchenko, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for your presence here today and for how you brought freedom in Ukraine and democracy to Ukraine. My father, Stepan Goy, was a colossal patriot, and his only dream was to see freedom and democracy in Ukraine, which you have achieved. And he passed away. He died when I was 12 years old. And I know that my father, Stepan, would be so proud of you, which we all are, and I want to thank you. And the president, he just bent down, and he scooped me up, and he put his cheek, like right here, he put his cheek against mine. And I thought, oh, if the president is hitting on me, hoo boy. And then I had a camera, and I asked someone if they could take a picture of me and the president. And he put his arm here, and we had a picture taken. And it wasn't until I saw the photograph on my son's computer, all blown up, and I went, oh my goodness, look where my hand is. I've got my hand on the president's cummerbund. Like, he's mine, girls. So that's my story. And I thought, Tato, message delivered and received. So I became Tato's messenger, and I'm so proud of myself for that. I was asked the question, why is it important to stay connected with your Ukrainian roots? And I find that as an avid art collector, I have a lot of Ukrainian art by Ukrainian artists, of course, Canadian and from Ukraine. I'm going to start off with this painting by Peter Shostak. This is a pioneer coat that was brought over by one of our settlers, and that is called "Was That Your Baba's Coat?" I find it a very tender, I love this painting so much, as I say, by Peter Shostak, who lives in one of the islands off Victoria. And I just find it so beautiful, just the sheepskin, and it's embroidered. And our ancestors, they just kept warm, but they also liked the beauty. And so that's my first painting, and I'm going to show you a couple of others that I'm really love to live with and I like to share. I'm talking about why it's important to stay connected with your Ukrainian roots. It's who we are, and it's what we are. And I find that through culture, like festivals like the the Capital Ukrainian Festival in Ottawa that I was part of, so many wonderful groups from Ukraine would come and they'd perform. They would bring their Ukrainian soul to the stage. And I find that art and artists really do represent who we are, and the connection that we must always maintain as long as we are here. Do you remember all the letters that we would get from Ukraine? This was part of the Kobzara Literary Award, and all those Ukrainian letters that we used to collect, that they were so precious. It would take weeks and weeks to come to us, and they would just wait for letters for us. And I think we should continue writing to our relatives, to people, remembering that there is a war going on in Ukraine, in the Donbass. I think it's the 5 years now, and our soldiers, our young soldiers, are dying every day. And we mustn't forget that there is a war, and assist them in any way we can. Also, Crimea, and the whole seaport. That really is a terrible thing that's going on, and we must not forget the people that live there as well. I've received so many awards that I value from the Ukrainian community. One of them I just want to share with you is the the centenary settlement of Ukrainians in Canada. And I was given this beautiful award, which I just value so very, very much. It's bronze, and it's a family here that came to Canada, and we've got the 100 years, and what it was is like 100 Ukrainians that made a difference to Canada through culture or whatever they brought with them, farmers, and I was given this for my contribution to culture, which I'm very proud of. The other thing is art, which I have so much of. I open art shows, and I just wanted to show these two little paintings that I just love from Ukraine. They were part of an art show in outside Toronto, in Oakville, I think, and I just had to have them. I just thought they were delightful, and here it is, the Cossack with his loved one on a horse. Just beautiful. And I love this one. This is called Vira, Nadia, Lubov, faith, love, and faith, hope, and love, with the mothers and their babies on a bird's back, with the church flying. So this is what my roots are. This is what talks to me, my art, which I absolutely love. I also wanted to show you a painting of a Madonna and Child. This is by Haila Novakivska. She's wonderful. She studied in Paris. She's an older painter, but check this out. I mean, the baby Jesus has real eyebrows, and it's sort of loosey-goosey. I mean, she just puts the paint on the way she feels it, and I just love this. It was a Ukrainian sadotchok, a kindergarten that she donated this, and I bid on it because I just love this painting so much. So that, and then there's my dear friend Hala Stolar in Winnipeg. She's just amazing. She's a poet, she's a fashion designer, she's done many exhibits in Winnipeg. And I love this piece with the painting, and also she does these little, the beading and whatnot, and she makes the frame, and I just love her work so much. I have a lot of her paintings as well. She's awesome. Hala Stolar. And that's my friend Hala. I wanted to give her a kudos. And continuing with our why we should stay connected to our Ukrainian roots, this is a painting by artist Natalka Husar. She does some very evocative paintings. This is called Chernobyl Barbie. And after Chernobyl, everything was radiated. People were dying in Ukraine. And this is the orange is the radiation. And this is a child who is combing the hair of a Barbie doll. And behind the child is, instead of an angel, there's a Barbie doll. And there's a song it's a folk song in Ukrainian that says, a braid to the waist, and in the braid, a blue satin ribbon. And this child will never have hair. Her hair has fallen out, and she has her satin ribbon on her head, and she longingly is combing the hair of Barbie. And it's a very moving painting. When I was growing up, my father Stepan, he read me Taras Shevchenko's Kobzar every single day. The Kobzar was a big book of poetry. And Taras Shevchenko is a poet laureate. And one of the poems that Tata would read to me is Учіться, брати мої, думайте, читайте, чужого научайтесь, а свого не цурайтесь. For those of you who have not been in this country long enough to learn Ukrainian, you can Google what that means. You can Google Taras Shevchenko in English. Basically, it's study, learn about others that are different from you, but don't forsake your own. And that's the lesson that Tato taught me. And to end on culture and staying connected with your roots, I want to end with a wonderful painting that I just love by Roman Zuzuk. He is from Ukraine, and he always paints himself. He loves chickens. I got this painting, I bid on it for a Ukrainian sadotchok, a Ukrainian kindergarten, and I just love this painting. It makes me smile. He loves his chicken. He's having a little drink with the chicken. The chicken's got her arm around him going, he's mine, girls. And so just like Ukraine is ours, our roots are important. And chickens too.